The Davis Foundation, Champions for Childhood Literacy, recently gathered a community forum for a more hopeful and equitable Springfield. I sat down with key participants Ralph Smith, Dr. Dayna Long, and Sally Fuller to learn more.
We're very excited at the Davis Foundation about the day that we have planned with these two wonderful guests. Reading Success by Fourth Grade has been affiliated, has followed, has worked with the Campaign for Grade Level Reading for a lot of years now, and really benefited from them as a thought partner. And the very exciting thing, the very exciting phase that the campaign is moving into is a phase called More Hopeful Futures, where they are connecting in a very significant way health outcomes for young children. So we know that the work we're doing to prepare children to read proficiently by the end of third grade has had a number of focus areas, but here is a very powerful one. And we have thought leaders to really guide us as Springfield commits to be part of this More Hopeful Futures initiative to make sure that our children, every one of them, reads proficiently by the end of third grade.
Ralph Smith, pick it up. It is so important. If you can't read, you can't do anything. You can read, the world's open.
We like to believe that. Sally is really generous because right here in Springfield, we have found, we being communities across the country, leadership and inspiration. Reading Success by Fourth was really part of the early days of the campaign. We learned a lot, and Sally has been with us every step of the way. And what is exciting is, as Sally noted, that as we've learned more about what it will require for more kids to read proficiently, we have come to understand that there are two things that we have got to insist on. One, we've got to insist on more parents having the tools, the information, and the supports so they could do a better job of realizing their own aspirations for their children. And two, we've got to ensure healthy child development. Parents and health are the two big determinants of early school success, and that's why I was really delighted to be here today, because what Sally and the Davis folks have done is really brought in one of the nation's foremost experts in really making sure that we've got healthy kids. And I want to be remembered as the guy who accompanied Dr. Dayna Long to Springfield.
Dr. Long, you're on, and it is important. You got to be able to read, but if you're not healthy, if you don't get a strong start in life, just being able to read doesn't do you much good.
That's right. So as a pediatrician, we know that we need to help advocate and support early childhood from the beginning, and that what happens in those early years is very predictive of third grade reading level, which can be predictive of high school graduation rates, which often are then predictive of future educational outcomes, health outcomes, economic outcomes. So there are really three critical components that we want everybody to really embrace. And the first of those components is that it is the early years, those first 5 years of life, that are these critical windows for brain development, cognitive development, social emotional development. The second is that parents play an essential, pivotal role in early childhood, that a parent is a child's first and most important teacher, and that by supporting parents, we are also supporting children. And then the third is that small moments have very big impacts. It's those quiet moments that you are actually talking, singing, and reading to your child that actually help to support brain development, help to foster relationships between the child and the parent, and help to build resiliency.
Well, Mr. Smith, we know, and you know,
And across the country.
nationally, so many times these parents are themselves in tough situations, working multiple jobs, and still stretching to make ends meet, and finding the time to sit down with the child, sit them on the lap, read the book. Easier said than done sometimes.
It's much easier said than done, but what we find across the country is significant ambivalence about parents and an unwillingness to really understand that if we want to help the child, we've got to help the parent. Many of us proceed as if somehow we're going to rescue the children while we jettison their parents. That's not going to happen. I like to, there's a phrase that's was saying that's attributed falsely to Winston Churchill. And it says that Americans will always do the right thing, but only after they've tried everything else. This is really where we are with parents. We have tried every workaround possible, and we now have to come to the conclusion that we've got to work with parents. We've got to help parents develop bold goals for the futures of their own children. We've got to work with them to support them to develop the skills that they need to accomplish those goals, and we've got to help them celebrate the small and large successes. So we put parents right in the middle of the table and say it is a very difficult challenge, but it's one we're going to have to take on and one we'll have to overcome if we're going to do right by kids.
Thank you so much. So much more we could talk about. Barely scratched the surface. Thanks for what you're doing, telling us what we ought to be doing with our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.